Riley Law Firm said that first.
Who did?
Riley
Law firm that we just fired because all three commissioners says they don't trust anything that they say.
Floyd
Well,
Law Firm?
Floyd Law
Yeah.
Firm.
Floyd Law Firm.
Jeff Rayleigh?
Yes,
Yeah.
That's the ones we just discharged?
but they did say at first that was legal when they come down here.
They told us a lot of stuff that
Well, I'm just telling you, that's what they said.
And Farley Ward.
Farley Ward said it's
Farley
legal.
Ward told us twice. He told us whenever the city was going out with us. It was
Yes,
legal.
according to Farley and according to Gene Wallace, yes.
And where did it happen? Where and when?
The time you talked to him,
Yeah, he said it was legal. I talked to him when this process started, and he thought it was legal. He said was it 2 counties in Oklahoma above the limit?
There are no counties on the boat limit.
He said, Gene told me there were 2. I don't know, but it may have been the city that brought it out. But when we started this, I'll address you, Paul, I'm just talking to the group. When we started looking at this, when they did the sales tax, when they built the jail, there was a letter out there, Randy, warning them how big this jail was going to be. And it had some sales tax projections where the half-cent sales tax brought in over $600,000, and they did growth revenue on top of that. So you're looking for a failure. I don't think our sales tax collection's been over 600,000 since it started.
Well, how much is it?
400. The half-cent's bringing in a little over
The
400,000.
half cent's bringing in
Something like that. But it
$501,221.
started out 600,000. But when we had the architect wrote the letter to the county saying you better get on, the construction costs are increasing, they went and built the jail bigger. They added a sheriff's office and another pod. We couldn't pay for the original, much less the bigger one. So it's just one debacle after another. You agree, Paul?
I agree. I mean, it's just a situation.
And if you look at it, Randy, how much they're short payment, the county, they can either fund the jail or the county. They can't do both, in my opinion. They got to have some revenue somewhere.
And how much is the shortage for next year?
A couple hundred. This year was 250,000. I haven't done the calculations next year.
Well, I have, and Gail provided me with this information, our county treasurer. And the shortage for next year is gonna be $61,628.
And that's using that the rest of that sales tax that the
That's a
county's
half
being.
cent. If you'll hear me out, I'll tell you
Yeah.
the rest of it.
Yeah,
If you took the 3/8, we'd be 177,466 short.
Yeah.
We're trying to pass sales tax here, and we don't even know what we're going after. If you need $177,000, but you're passing the sales tax that's generating $500,000, I'd say that's a little overkill.
not in operating the jail and making payment, it's not.
But we have that $900,000 payment due in 2024.
Yeah, you got the junior debt coming
Well,
up.
there again, you do have it coming, and I think it was just bad management that
Yes.
that let that happen.
I think everybody agrees with you on that.
Yeah. But the county's got to have more revenue some way. They can't cut enough. Now, the ad valorem, they raise about $550,000 a year in ad valorem. You can't increase ad valorem enough to help this situation, in my opinion. You can do about 3% a year, 150, 125,000, all you can raise ad valorem a year. And that's
Well,
with a 60% vote, and that's not going to happen in Haskell County. So,
Well, one big question that I have is that you're going out for a sales tax based on economic development.
correct.
And this does not sound like economic development to me to make a jail payment and operational costs. Economic development is if you have the opportunity to bring a company in here, a manufacturing facility that will generate jobs and taxes. That's economic development. It's not to make a jail payment, and it's not to operate a jail.
It don't
I
matter.
won't argue
Yeah.
with you that we probably don't need something to help operate the jail.
Yeah.
But trying to get it in here as an economic development is just wrong.
It don't matter where my opinion and your opinion agrees. It's going to be a DA and some judge if someone brings an action against it. That's going to be that's whose
Well,
opinion matters.
There you go. Who's gonna make the payment while this action is taking place?
How we gonna
That's my question.
Well, how are we going to make it if the sales tax goes
We-
no? How are we going to make the payment there?
We made it last year.
So,
Yeah, we're running down on land to sell.
yeah.
Well,
we don't have another rock.
Nobody on this Board of County Commissioners wants to ask the public for a half-cent sales tax. We did not create this problem, and because when this was first brought up, I was dead against the half-cent sales tax. You can ask these other two commissioners, I did not want one. But after talking to numerous people, I don't see any other option, because according to our tax assessor, Roger Ballard, he said, all you can raise is 3 mills a year, which generate about $150,000 a year. So I would like for somebody else to tell me another option that we can do.
Well,
If I
Paul,
have-
we've offered that to you by hiring legal counsel to give us a plan of action of how to do this and do it legal and do it right. And you completely ignored it. I told you in the last meeting that we finally agreed to hire these lawyers, and you're not even giving us the chance to discuss it with them. How do you expect to get sound advice that's legal and will work, instead of shooting from the hip and trying to get more money than what you need? You're asking for $300,000 a year more than what's required to make the payment.
We're gonna have to operate the jail too.
Well, I've thought about that, Randy, and that's the reason when if we, on the ballot, it's gonna plainly state that 100% of the half a cent will go into the bond payment account. If any commissioner from this point forward takes 1 penny out of that account to pay it for anything else, they can be prosecuted. And after 2024, which I'm just going by what Jeff Rayleigh said, and I agree with you, not even gonna go there. It can be paid off early. If we accumulate a surplus of money, what would be wrong with just paying the jail off and being done with it?
Because you can't. That's not the way bonds are done.
Well,
They have a time frame that they have to be serviced, and you're gonna continue to pay that interest on them until that date is reached. There is no early.
Well, my
sale
question is to the committee members, is if we don't go out for this half-cent sales tax, two things. If we don't go out for it, how are we gonna meet our obligation next April? And two, if we wait till August for the next election, it takes 6 months to start generating the tax. So that would put you getting your first payment in March. So that, and this March's was $38,000, so that means next April we would have $38,000 is what we would have to go against our debt. If we do it now, we would have 2 extra months of collections. And
that's gonna generate how much?
all I'm going by is
You can't tell me.
February's allotment of $38,000 a month.
So we didn't.
Nobody knows exactly what the taxes are gonna be
Well,
next
you
year.
don't need to know exactly when you're dealing with this kind of money. The shortage is gonna be $61,600 if you use the entire half cent. The only thing I'm saying is there's not been enough consideration given to how this is gonna work and how it's gonna play out. And it's not fair to the taxpayers of this county to pay more than what they're gonna have to have.
But my question was, how, if we don't pass this, how are we gonna meet that obligation in April?
All right, let me ask you a question.
But I mean,
What are you gonna do if you don't get this sales tax?
then I feel like, as this Board of County
Well,
Commissioners,
what's your plan B?
you asked me, I'm answering the question. We're gonna put it to the vote of the people and let the people decide. And what I've been told, and I know I'm being taped, but I'm not going on the record because I haven't got a final answer. But what I've been told is if we go in default next April, we will use the reserved money and we'll be okay next year. But the following year, we will go in default and the federal judge will decide on how the jail gets paid for it. Which, there's a good possibility, not saying it is, but there's a very good possibility it will go on your property tax. Not saying that it will, but there's a chance. And that's what I've been told.
Here we go, we're operating off hearsay, and somebody said this and somebody said that.
Well, no, I've got that.
How about some facts? How about somebody, you saying you've been told, who told you that? And how much authority and knowledge do they have to tell you something like
Well,
that?
Gene Wallace has been in county business and
County business.
county government for a long time, and he's the executive director of ADCO. So, I mean, I don't know who else I would ask that knows any more about county business than than Gene Wallace.
If I might, Commissioner.
Yes, go ahead.
Rayleigh said earlier in the year that if we defaulted, it would go back to the sales tax and it wouldn't affect property tax by the structure of the bond.
It'll
So,
go back to the pledged revenue, which is 3/4 of a cent.
additional questions for the commissioners. Are we still using the proposition and the ballot that was prepared by the Rayleigh law firm for purposes of the election?
Not the ballot.
So the ballot has been changed. Somebody asked a question earlier about who has the authority to determine who and how we can tax. A state statute, the counties can tax up to 2%. There's a constitutional provision that allows counties to exceed that 2% for certain purposes. One of those is economic development, and others is roads, highways, bridges, and hospitals. Rayleigh gave counsel to the commissioners that we could call this jail project economic development. Therefore, under that authority, raise additional sales tax if the people so elected or so decided. My concern, Paul, the rest of the commissioners, is that under any scenario, you can't call the third bailout of a jail debt service requirement economic development. By definition, Randy described economic development earlier in the meeting. This is a debt bailout, not economic development. My fear is even if it passes, it won't pass muster. Someone will challenge that and we'll be back to square one as a county.
Well, it has been challenged, according to our DA, it has been challenged in the Supreme Court, favored in the counties. According, and everybody's welcome. He's your DA. Farley Ward is your DA. You can go talk to him yourself. And Randy,
Well, I just challenge everyone to read the statutes
I
themselves.
challenge everybody to go talk to Farley Ward.
Then section
He's our
5 of the
legal
ballot.
advisor. Excuse me, Randy, can I ask one last question, please? I apologize for interrupting, but Randy, I answered your question, but y'all didn't answer mine. What are we going to do?
I had
Okay, go
two
ahead,
parts.
go ahead.
I asked a question about the ballot, whether it had been changed. The commissioner just voted on a proposition and ballot that none of us has seen, none of us knows what the language is, know what we're approving. Section 5 in the old ballot says, in the last paragraph, the 1/4 of 1 cent sales tax previously pledged on the Series 2014 revenue refinancing bonds should be released from that pledge and will continue to be used for the general Haskell County maintenance and operations. Unless that's changed, we're asking for 2 tax increases. One, to increase funding to the tax because we're not releasing the tax that was previously dedicated for the debt, jail service and operations. And secondly, an additional half-cent tax to pay for the jail. So I'd like to see the ballot.
Don't you feel like that's something that can be corrected to?
Yes, but Randy.
What are they,
I still
Randy?
have a.
I got a question. I got a
We
question.
still didn't,
Discussion.
we still didn't, I apologize, Randy, but I never did get an answer to the April question
It's on the ballot.
about if we do
Probably
not
releasing a quarter.
have this half-cent sales tax that helps take care of our April payment, what would be the plan?
Quarter cent.
That's not.
What would be the plan?
Yes.
The plan would be to tighten up to where you can
Add
pay.
up to half.
Tighten up, Randy.
Yeah.
The law.
You don't have any figures telling me
Yes,
what
I
you
do.
can or do. Well, let's see them.
The law states
Let's see
that
the
the
figures.
county must pay the elected official and their first deputy. In Karen's office, well, we've already been through that. There's only 2 people you can legally lay off. I mean, the cuts, we have cut. I don't know, we cut a person in every office last year. I mean, if we're gonna go by the law and what the statutes tell us, we could cut 2 people's up. I mean, that's all I can see. I don't know what else we could cut.
So if your sales tax does not pass the vote, then what are you gonna do? You're
But I asked you.
me to answer that, and it's your decision and problem. What I'm saying is there hadn't been enough consideration to jump out here and go out for a sales tax vote. We were a week and a half, 2 weeks away from engaging our council to get some sound advice and to look at this and explore it instead of making more wrong decisions. We need to start doing it in a business-like manner and accept this debt instead of turning away from it and trying to throw money at it to make it go away. It's not fair to the constituents and the citizens of the county to do that.
How you feel about that, Tom? You're on the committee.
It's like, I'll tell you my opinion, you don't have enough money to run the jail in the county. You either gotta cut your expenses or raise more revenue. You take your pick. I don't know enough expenses you can cut. Take your pick. You gotta raise revenue or cut expenses any way you go about it.
So it's sales tax, property tax, or eventual default.
Do you think sales tax will stand up in economic development under that guy?
Depends on what judge it goes in front of. It don't count what me and Bobby thinks. It's whoever brings the judgment, you go in front of a judge. It's his opinion. Right, Bob?
Nobody wants that litigation cost.
Go out and do a declaratory judgment. See if it's legal. Do that up front.
Ask for
And
it right away.
you know what I'm talking about, don't you, Roger?
Go right up to the judge and ask him.
Yeah. He's the one who's going to have to make the decision if someone brings the judgment against it to stop it.
I go back to Nody's quote. I won't quote him, but I'll paraphrase him. He says this sales tax is not an option for Haskell County because it's not economic development. That's another opinion.
And he also said, I am not a lawyer. And I asked,
Not either.
and I'm not either.
Yeah.
And I asked Gene Wallace, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I said, Gene, is this legal? And he said, yes. And he said, as long as your DA approves it, it's legal.
Until it's challenged. That's what.
Then it's the
Carlos-
judge's opinion.
Then it's the
That's right.
judge's, and he's just going by what's the other court cases that's been in Oklahoma.
So there's two opportunities for it to fail right there.
Commandments.
Well, then you can fail at anything.
One, it doesn't pass the
They didn't move
vote.
it when
Two,
they supposed to.
it gets challenged.
I thought
What
we
I'm
was
wondering
gonna,
about is where is the money coming from to fight the challenge that we don't have in the county right now? We couldn't fight a lawsuit if we had to. Where is that gonna come from? And then what are you gonna do if it doesn't? Either way, you.
That's what I'm asking you. What
Well,
are we gonna do if it
You're
doesn't?
asking me, I told you what to do. And
No, I said, what are we gonna do in April if we don't have more revenue?
You start saving today. You start addressing the debt today. You don't wait until April and
That's
go out.
what we're
and
trying to do.
Go
How-
out
that's what we're doing.
$450,000. What I'm saying
trying
is,
to
what's
get
your plan
started.
A and B? If this doesn't work, where are you gonna go from here?
If this is not addressing it, what is?
Well, when you need 177,000, you're asking for $500,000.
If it's all dedicated to the jail debt, that's where it's gonna go.
Could you change the proposition?
We
It
will,
makes sense. We'll not go back to the
we will
county
not be
remainder.
using that ballot.
Is that gonna be like?
Yeah, I'm all for the whole $0.50 going in to the bond payment account, into that account, where it can only legally be spent for the jail debt only. Absolutely nothing else. And I'm gonna tell you, the citizens of Haskell County, if any commissioner, now or whenever, spends 1 penny out of that account, and it doesn't go to the jail,
I'd be careful what I say,
well, I'm just telling you, I won't be spending nothing out of it.
because if you looked at it in a retroactive respect, there'd be somebody in trouble.
I thought we was gonna, when we had Odie come down here and tell us what we should do, that we was gonna listen to what he said. And didn't he say we had to have a half cent sales?
No, he
tax?
did
He
not.
said that's not an option for this county, is what he said.
He said it's either property tax or sales tax, in my best of my recollection.
That's what he
And
said.
what we said we were gonna do is we were gonna listen to what Nody had to say, and we were also gonna listen to what our new bond counsel had to say.
We just keep putting this off and putting it off and putting it off.
We're not
My
putting it
opinion,
off. We're not putting it off.
Yes, we are. Every time we come up with something, we
We've
put it
moved as
off.
fast as we could possibly move through the meeting process of the commissioners.
We
We had to
started-
get rid of the other law firms before we could get the new ones on board. Is that not correct?
We started
And
off,
we did that week by week.
back last year, we was gonna have a half cent sales tax. The city come in and said, well, wait a minute, we need to get options. We'll wait till you get the options. They didn't wait. They went right ahead and got it. And that put us down. Now then, we're coming up here and the city's still hollering, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it.
The city's still all right.
Well, yes.
Did I say don't do it? No, I said guidance from an attorney, not the
Well,
attorney.
we did
the-
see.
We had
guidance
guidance
from Farley.
from
Farley. Farley's a district attorney.
That is my legal counsel as a commissioner.
And Farley is a prosecutor. He's not a bond attorney.
I've been.
Apparently, you can't understand that because a bond attorney looks after taxes, bonds, and gives us advice is what we need to do. The only thing I'm saying to do is if you guys wanted to speed this up, you could have done it. You're the ones that slowed it down. We could have done this all in one meeting, 6 months ago, 5 months ago, but we didn't. And I asked you for over 2 months to get rid of that council, and finally had to make the motion myself to get you to move on it, because nobody would move on it. Well, we did that. We got rid of them. We got rid of our Virgin law firm also, that nobody even seems to know why we were paying them.
I know exactly why we was paying them.
Well,
It was a one-time, it was a one-time payment on that junior loan. It was the Morgan Company, because when I was at ADCO, the spring conference, I talked to them, and it was a one-time payment.
Well, that
for the
one-time
junior
payment's
loan.
been being paid every month.
Hey,
It was signed on that one order that Paul signed that they paid them every year
Yep, month by month.
for the,
on the Virgin Law
for
Firm.
the junior loan, is what I was
No, it
told.
wasn't on the junior loan, it was on the,
But
Refinance.
they misinformed me, but
I got a question. Who was your legal advice whenever you refinanced in 14 and you went and borrowed $450